Hey, this is Angela with this week's Living the Shift. Happy New Year. Happy New Age, more importantly. And what we are going to talk about is something so important as we step into this new age, and that is healing. And what healing truly is about. Excuse me. I'm going to back up for a couple of seconds here. October, November, and December of 2012 was huge for us because we truly did collectively walk through a doorway into a new age and into a new world. So many have had this big sigh of relief, like, oh my gosh, yeah, we got through it, because everybody was so like, there were so many people who were so concerned about the whole 12/21 thing. Well, it was always supposed to be this doorway into a new age. So everybody's like, oh, okay, I can go back to my regular self, my regular life, and everything else. And what people are finding is that they are more sick. They're getting sicker. All of a sudden, things that they thought they had cleared up are just popping up. They're having old injuries pop up, or having new injuries, or having stuff that just sort of circle around, even though they're trying to work on themselves and clear stuff out. And then they're sort of perplexed, going, well, if this is supposed to be so great, then why is this going on? And so very relevant into the topic of healing. Because then what happens is then you get caught up in this going, oh my God, I feel sick, I can't do this, I can't accomplish what I'm supposed to do, and how can I move forward? So first of all, we are releasing this old world, okay? And many don't see it yet, many don't feel it yet. And they'll say, well, what do you mean, this new world? It's the same as it was before. No, it's actually very different. We just haven't we're just beginning to live it, and so we haven't really even explored it yet. It's sort of like playing a video game where you beat one level and you get to the next level, and the beginning of the next level looks the same as the last one did when you first start, and then the further you get in, then it starts to change quite drastically sometimes, because you have a whole new set of goals, a new set of things and abilities and everything else that you need to do. That's where we are right now. We're at the very beginning of the next age. We're in the very beginning of the new steps, the new reality. And what a fantastic and amazing time to be here in the physical during this. Excuse me. Oh. And so the healing process is so important, because healing truly is letting go of what doesn't serve us in the physical. Okay? And that's really what all of our physical reactions are to things that we're trying to, we bleed because our bodies are trying to heal something, an injury. We get these symptoms of sickness, swelling and bruising and all this kind of stuff, because we are trying to heal something that's just not in balance in our bodies. Okay, and there's like a whole bunch of different things, but cancer is a mutation of cells, because the cells are trying, these particular cells have the task of attracting all of the negative and negativity and the toxins within the body. And there's so much negativity and toxins building up in the body in some certain way that these particular cells then have to mutate to try to hold on to them, and then they have to replicate and everything else, which is what makes tumors and cancer and all that kind of stuff. So there's all these other, I can go on and on with all that, but here's the key. The old world is gone. We walked through the doorway. And so our task now, being that we have all agreed at the higher levels to be here in the physical during this time, is to release the old world and what doesn't serve us. Because it doesn't serve us anymore to hold on to the self-limitations of the ego, and all limitations are self-limitations. And that was really what we wanted to do in the old world. We wanted to live the ego. We wanted to live the idea that we're separate to this huge exponential degree. And we accomplished that. We did a fantastic job. And now we're done with that. So some of us, a good portion of us, have had a head start, a jump start, and started working on all this clearing and releasing process beforehand. And some might not have even realized they were doing it, but they started to in different ways. And then others have held on to a lot of the baggage, and now it's going to be pulled up to be released in a big, huge chunk of it. And many are already experiencing that. Well, that is the shift into the new world. Yes, and it's uncomfortable right now. That's because we're trying to hold on to it. And it's sort of like clearing out, another metaphor, it's sort of like clearing out a closet where we've had storage, that we've stored stuff for ages and we've not looked at it for years. We just keep on throwing stuff in there. And then, oh my gosh, we need that space for a different purpose altogether. So we have to pull all the stuff out of the storage closet, put it out in the middle of the floor, and be like, okay, I need to get rid of all this stuff. What do I need to do? Should I throw it out? Should I sell it? Should I bring it to Goodwill? Can I use it or give it away? All of this kind of stuff, so that we can get rid of it, so that we can use that space for something new. That's where we are etherically, and collectively. So if we are uncomfortable pulling the stuff out of the closet and we try to procrastinate, my understanding is it's going to get pulled out of the closet for us. And in healing, and what healing truly is, and I've talked about this in the past, but I'm going to go into this a little more about expectations and what that entails. In the past, we have gotten to depend too much on what we call our crutches, which is truly were our tools on things that we have created in this reality to remember how to access our divine abilities. And of course, there's a whole bunch of different ways. There's herbs, there's people use crystals and this and that, but then there's also pharmaceuticals, and pharmaceuticals were created as a tool also to do the same thing. But what has happened in the process is we have forgotten that those were only supposed to be tools and not crutches. They do not heal us. We heal ourselves. And my understanding is, as we move forward into this level of the game, those kind of medicines are going to stop working, because it's time for us, in some way, shape, or form, because it's time for us to tap into the power within and remember we have it all inside of us, because all of that doesn't serve us anymore. And we're going to do it step by step, and maybe several steps at a time, from what I understand. But the key is, we are the ones that hold ourselves back. We have, because what happened is, when we created medicine, and we had gotten to this point of separation where we externalized the cause of all of our sicknesses as to something outside of us. Sicknesses and injury and everything else. So we started externalizing it and started believing that we were victims to things that we couldn't control. And when we did that and externalized it completely, then we created medicine, like in the pharmaceutical world, on how to remedy those symptoms that we have believed are external to us. And like I said, they are useful because they are tools as we are remembering our divinity. The key is that we have gotten to the point of using them as crutches. So the key is and that's not just pharmaceuticals, I'm talking about everything. It's time for us, the message that I get that's pervading through everything is, it's time for us to step back and heal ourselves and release the stuff ourselves and remember the power we have within. I always tell people that basically what I do, people call what I do as being a healer, but I call it as being a healing facilitator, which a friend of mine coined, and I love that term because that's the truth. All I do, it's sort of like psychology with spirit in there and the higher self in there, on what is it that's causing the underlying core issues that are causing this sickness, illness, or injury, or disease, or discomfort to come into somebody's life. Because we have gotten so out of the practice of doing that. We've gotten so in the practice of saying, oh my gosh, of course I got the flu, because everybody else had the flu. That was a belief. That's a belief, by the way. And there's a whole bunch of things behind that. But simple things like, even I had somebody once who took a class from me, and at the onset she got this infection in her in a hangnail in her pointer finger, and she ended up needing to have to go get medicine for that. Then it cleared up a whole lot faster once we got through the whole class. But that had to do with pointing at other people, pointing judgment, giving judgment, pointing fingers at other people. Literally, this is what we do to ourselves. So many times we are so literal with the issues that we have. Shoulder issues have to do with holding weight, keeping weight on our shoulders, or pulling an inordinate amount of weight in our lives. Weight itself is why are we weighed down? What's holding us back? Why are we using it as a shield to actually allow our full true self to come through? And there's all this other stuff. But anyway, so the key is to stop looking at this as sickness and disease and illness and injury as having outside causes, and starting to look in the mirror and say, what is it that is causing this? And that is what we do when we do energetic healing, is we actually hone in to find what is the core underlying issue that's causing this. So that because when we remove that core underlying issue, yes, that's when we can get instantaneous healings. That's when it will go away once and for all and not come back anymore. And we have done it in such a complex way that, yeah, there are many times there's many layers to it. Sometimes it's really easy. So on that, there's another level to that, and that's what to expect as a result of doing this kind of healing work. Because many do expect it to be sort of like the Band-Aid, like we've had many pills and stuff become. It's not a Band-Aid. These are removing root causes, and we go really deep many times the more we work at it. And I'm talking about whether you're doing self-work or you're working with others, or yeah. So sometimes it's instantaneous. I've healed myself in seconds on stuff. I've healed myself in minutes, in hours, in a day or 2 days on things that are amazing, that people are like, really, like within a day you get rid of that. And yeah, because I found the core issue. I dug and I asked the higher self and I found it, resolved it, released it, it's gone. And so the physical reality of that just went away. And our cells are being retrained on how to not have to do that because we're moving into a different level of existence. But in the meantime, all of that muck that doesn't serve us is coming up to the surface to release once and for all. I have a blog up on my website, roadtoawakening.net, that talks about several things that's going on, and if you have this sickness or whatever that's coming up and you don't know how to get past it, some ideas, and actually healing in there. But I also have on my clearings and downloads page on there, that on that site, another one about not needing to physically manifest the non-physical to release it anymore, because we sort of have that too. But anyway, the other thing that I just wanted to point out is so the expectations are what's going to happen after I do this energetic healing work. So I have a great story. It's a perfect example, and I have had this several times. So there's a woman who I met, and she really resonated with the stuff that I do. So she had a session with me, just one session, and we covered a lot of stuff. But basically the theme was that she felt stuck in her life. She was living with a friend. She wasn't happy with her work. She didn't know what she should do with her life. She was like, but she was paralyzed, like she wasn't letting herself move forward. And that's what we worked on. That was the intention. When we do energetic work, we usually find the intention of what to clear. Because no matter how many times we use words, there's always more than the words. So we set the intention and then allow the healing to happen. But so the intention had been to get her unstuck. So, I had the session with her. Didn't hear from her. A couple weeks later, I emailed her and said, so how you doing? And she said, well, I feel a little better. She said, but I really don't think the session did much for me. But in the meantime, in the past, since we talked, she's like, I've actually found myself an apartment, and I have a direction of where I'm going with what I'm doing, and she gave me like 4 or 5 things that basically pretty much told me that she was able to move forward, that she'd become unstuck. And yet she didn't really see that until I went back to her and I said, oh my God, that's awesome. Because we had covered so much in one session. I said, that's amazing that you have that much change after one session. That actually is very progressive. And she was like, oh, I guess I didn't see it that way, because we're not sure what to look for, right? There are these expectations. When we do this stuff, we're working from underneath. We're working from the lower levels. And when we do that, it shifts from the bottom out. And so it wasn't necessarily even a physical thing with her. This was just a self-limitation that was holding her back. But she didn't even realize the difference. So yes, I've worked, and we work with physical stuff all the time too. I have people who come in, they're a lot of pain, and we do the work and figure out what's going on, and we remove that, and the pain goes away. And I have that happen within a session. Sometimes it takes a couple. It depends on what it is. So the key is to, and what I always tell people is, when you get energetic healing work, to journal afterwards, to notice differences, to notice things that have changed. And I'm not saying to judge it and say, does it fit into what we worked on or not, but just to journal it, because many times you don't see the pieces one at a time, but like a week or 3 weeks or a month later, you might go back and look at the collective, the total of all of what you have written, of all that what has happened, and you say, oh my gosh, that really did shift and change. And I was able to, for example, maybe you release something that you had a physical ailment that went away in a much quicker time, in a much more graceful and easy time than you've had before. But there's a lot of different, it's very individual too. Two people with the same thing are going to heal very differently because they heal themselves in their own fashion, in their own tempo, and however long it takes, and in whatever time it takes for us to get to for them to get to the level of clearing of the button that's actually causing the physical manifestation. So on that, I'm going to let you go, and we'll talk to you next week. This is Angela with this week's Living the Shift.